this is Katie, and thank you for joining me on the My Senses, My Space podcast. And this episode, I wanted to talk about the sense of control. And this isn't like a proper sense as compared to hearing and taste and smell, but this is something that people use as kind of saying, do you have a sense of control in your life? And what does having control really mean? What I've learned about that is that there is a locus of control, right? There is a center part of what you can actually control and what is totally out of your control. And it may seem like you have a lot more control over things in your life, like that you can dictate whether something goes one way or the other. But there actually is a whole finite set of things that you can control. We can't control the weather. We can't control what other people how they see us and how they react to us. But what can we control? We can control how we are kind to others. We can control, calling up and making an appointment for something. We can control making a list and sticking to one thing to the next. But can we control time? No. The list is like, this is what I hope to get done, but then things come up in our lives and it changes, right? Like we have to adapt and say, you know what? I have no control over this and I have to save it for tomorrow or wait for someone else to do part of it so that we can pick it up again. I think there comes into play a lot around those of us who have limited energy or who can be more hypervigilant in this area in the sense of if I just control more, if I just keep my ducks in a row, then I will appear like I have it all together. And I know I've been there. I've been there. And I also know the relief of letting things go, but it takes a lot of thought and a lot of practice, especially practice. It takes practice to go, okay, if I release my hold on something, will it make me feel better or not? And there are things that you need to release control over that are just outside of your control, as I said. So can we turn our sense of control on or off like a button? And no, we can't. It's something we actually have to work through. And there can be healing done around this. It can be something that has been brought up in your childhood that to control a situation or an outcome makes it feel more safe for you. And that you crave that feeling of safety. And you can always work with a therapist through this because it may be necessary to do so. A podcast is not going to fix that, but it may get you to start thinking that maybe there's one type of safety that you're craving over and over. And because of that, there is an action that you're doing to always try to have that outcome come about so that you do feel safe, if that makes sense. We do tend to repeat things that because we crave something that we want to do it again because it satisfied that craving, right? I want to feel safe, so I shall do this again. What a great saying that I heard recently was, and I think I've mentioned this actually before, was like the very first thing that comes to mind can be what you've been taught how to be, but if you give it more thought between receiving that input and then reacting, if you stretch out the time in between there, you may find that there is a gap in a space that you are allowed to kind of expand and think through, like, I could respond differently. It's a possibility. I could retrain my mind a little bit to go, you know what? In the past, I've always viewed this as a threat, but it may not be a threat anymore. And so I may not feel the need to feel control over that anymore. Just some thoughts to think about. And over time, I think I've shared in another episode, is like you can kind of retrain your brain to have those inputs be less like it happens, you react. It happens, you're just expanding the space in between there. Another thing you can do is, if you have a trusted loved one that you're around a lot of the time, whether you live with them or that you're just around them a lot, you could ask them if they have any gentle observations that they can provide some feedback to you of. Maybe they see a certain reaction or a certain way that you are doing things, living your everyday life, that they might be able to give you some constructive feedback on that. Now, you do have to be like emotionally available and emotionally able to process that feedback. And if that's not for you, then in that moment, if this is not a good time in your life to process that, even the day, the week, the month, don't do it yet, right? Like, you kind of need to be in a space that you're inviting that in and asking for feedback of like, oh, well, I see that, every time you do this, this is happening. But maybe we could lessen it so that maybe you're only doing that once a day instead of, every hour. And it's wrapped up in anxiety, right? Like this can lead to a whole discussion around anxiety, but I wanted to just tiptoe into this talking about control first, and having that need or that sense of trying to control all the things around you. And it does stem from anxiety and trying to search out that safe spot. So I will end it there. I'm sure there's going to be more that we'll talk about in the future, but I hope this kind of gets you thinking, and I hope you join me next time on the My Senses, My Space podcast.